All right, all right, all right. We're live. Live. What's poppin'? Beautiful people. We're back. I'm back. It's been a good minute since I've made a video or made any content. Probably like about almost half a year, 5 months. Time flies by quick. And yeah, so I just wanted to show up for you guys here today. What's up? I see you guys filling in the room. What's poppin'? What's poppin'? I just wanted to pop in here today to just to show my face, to be here, and to just share with you guys what's been going on, where I've been, why I pretty much disappeared for like 5 months, and just what's good. What's good in my reality and in yours, and just see what magic wants to unfold. Because I felt called to step on here. So for those of you joining now, I see we got a lot more people pouring in. What's up? What's up? Wait, how come I can't see the chat? Well, let me just make sure I can see the chat over here. How do I see pop-out chat maybe? Oh, here we go. Okay, I wasn't seeing your guys. Okay, let me find an easier way to see this because I have to have it on 2 different windows for some reason. Give me a second. YouTube's changed its whole format apparently. Okay, I might need to go back and forth so I don't spend too much time doing this. Okay, I'm going to figure out the chat thing in a second. But yeah, it's been a long time, and really my intention with showing up here with you guys today is to be here, is to show up, is to share with you guys what's been going on. Maybe some of the things that has been happening might be able to support you in your own lives, but really it's just to share myself with you guys and to be real with y'all, because it's been an intense and wild and challenging past 5 months of my life. So thank you for being here. Hey, let me see if I can fix this chat thing real quick. I see you guys. What's up? Yup, I'm back. Hold on, give me 2 seconds. There's got to be a way. Because right now it's got you guys on 2 different windows. I don't know since when YouTube did things like that. All right, maybe if I just go in the actual YouTube room. Anyways, okay, I'll figure it out after. So what's been going on? Where have I been? Why did I disappear? I pretty much went from like making videos and doing lives every single day, sometimes multiple times a day, to just disappearing like Houdini. And the short story is, one, I've been going through it. That's a big part of it. I was going through it. I was just going through a lot, which I'll definitely talk about as we unfold this conversation. I would say this, what I went through was easily the second hardest time in my life that I'd experienced, and it just wasn't pleasant. And at the same time, in this world of duality, the other side of the coin is that it's been magical, right? So short story is that 5 months ago, some of you guys know, I've recently found my true love, my wife, my angel, my favorite person in the world, Avea. And we went to Costa Rica she was in Cali, I was in Canada, and we went to Costa Rica to meet up. And the intention was to just build stronger foundations between each other. We wanted to just intentionally co-create our flow together in terms of just how do we serve together, how do we create together, how do we express together, how do we go through challenges together, how do we want to design our dreams together. We went into a very intentional space of co-creation and just building our next level dreams. And with that, there was both the beauty, and I also personally went through a lot of challenges, primarily between me and me, just between me and myself, in the sense that How do I put it? I guess the most simple way to put it is that I was just simply not used to being in a relationship like this. Every relationship I've been in, on some level, I've always known it was temporary. I've always known that this isn't the person for me and I was going to move on. And so that just allowed me a certain level of space and freedom, and just kind of always knowing that there was a next. It's almost like being addicted to the chase. And that's kind of been my life, right? It's always been on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that's how I've lived. And then here now I found myself in this experience where there wasn't necessarily a next thing, right? And it was the experience of, when you have such a strong relationship to the chase and to like getting the next thing and the next thing, I never actually learned what happens once the chase is over. What happens when you actually have everything that you want, everything that you've dreamt of. And it was an uncomfortable sensation in my body. And I went through a lot of things. I went through a lot of, for example, one of the first things I had to learn was how to operate within a union, within a couple, where I was so used to doing everything on my own. I was so used to, building my, creating on my own, serving clients on my own, building my business on my own, doing my YouTube channel on my own. Everything was me. And and now I've evolved into a we. And so the best way I could put it is that all the me, my me way of creating, my me way of serving, my me way of flowing, my me way of doing reality had expired. That identity of me had expired, and I had to learn how to be me inside of we, as opposed to just me and me, if that makes any sense whatsoever. I really wish I could see your comments at the same time. What's poppin'? I'm gonna go back and forth so I could see the comments. Cool. So that was a big thing for me. I was just going through a lot inside of myself and just trying to learn how to orient inside of a relationship and still feel free and still feel alive and still feel powerful. And it was just a lot, and I'm happy to answer questions that you guys have, because I know it's a common thing. I know a lot of people go through the experience of not knowing how to feel free and alive and magical while in a relationship. And that's something that I was experiencing and have finally broken through and just learned a lot about. So I'm happy to share whatever codes and insights I might have over there if you guys want. But that's really the short story of it, is I was just going a lot between me and me. And the thing with love is that when you finally, at least this is what I've discovered, when you finally find your true love, first within, when you finally meet true love within, and that was an experience for me too, and then you find the reflection of your true love on the external, without, basically, love is representative of oneness. Basically, it's the opposite of separation. It's the opposite of mine and yours, and this is how I do things, that's how you, that's not what love is. Love is a oneness, it's a dance. And so a lot of what was surfacing for me was all the places inside where I was still in a duality, where I was still, how can I make that more clear? Where I wasn't used to, I guess, flowing as a team. No, that's not it. That's not the truth. I just didn't know how to be me, is the most simple way to put it. I didn't know how to be me within a union because I was used to operating certain ways. I was used to being a certain flavor of free when I wanted to be free. I was used to creating and having my space when I wanted to create, and not used to having someone around, because I'm generally someone who's much more comfortable making videos and doing live streams when I could expand my energy and I don't have anyone in my space. I was used to a certain way of operating. And so that identity or that ego of me had to die out. And that was a very painful experience, especially because it's who I was for over a decade. And so that's the short of what I was going through over there. And the result is just this beautiful, inexplicably magical flow of magic that we have between each other. Ave is my best friend, my favorite person in the world, and we just have such a magical flow. And we both know that a big part of why we're here is to share it. And of course, just continue to, share ourselves. So that's a lot of what I was going through. And on another hand, on another level, this might sound crazy to you guys, but I'm just going to keep it real, is I had gotten to a place. So I'm 34, for those of you who don't know. I'm 34 years young. And I had gotten to a place where I had finally accomplished all my dreams. And I didn't even really know that was possible, but all the dreams that I had in my heart that I'd set out for myself, they weren't goals. I'm not someone who sets goals. That's not my style. These are more experiences that I wanted to have in my life. And I just got into a place where I achieved every single one of my dreams. And, I had the woman that I want, the lifestyle that I want, the business that I love, the cash flow that I love, the freedom that I love, so on and so forth, and just everything that you can imagine, I had finally achieved from a place of my soul, of true fulfillment. And at the same time, it was just such a weird feeling to be to a place of like, I have everything, right? I have everything I've ever dreamed of. Where do I go from here? And, so it kind of felt like, imagine for 9 years, you've been writing this book consistently. And so as you're writing this book, you're pouring your heart out into it. It's bringing up emotions. You're telling stories. You go through journeys writing this book because you're remembering things that you forgot along your path. And it's just this whole emotional dance that you have for 9 years writing this book. And then finally, after 9 years, you get to the end and you've finished writing that book that you've been writing for 9 years. And then it's done. And so there's a certain like, wow, I've completed this book of my life. For me, that was teaching you guys about spiritual gifts and ascension in the ways that I was teaching. I've put out, from what I know, the biggest body of work on spiritual gifts that exists anywhere. And that's something I'm really proud of, that I'm passionate about, because there was just so much fluff out there. I wanted to make it English and accessible for people. So it's like I spent 9 years teaching and talking about and writing about pretty much one theme. And now that book is done, there was this feeling of like, what do I do here? There's that transition step, right? Because there's the taking the time to let go of what was written and what was created and how you used to create and approach your inspiration, which was what I was going through. And then there's also the sitting in, well, what's next? What's the next book? What's the next energetic book, Akashic book that's wanting to be written in life right now? And so that's the space that I've been in. So I've literally gone through a death or an expiration of the way that I create, the way that I serve, the way that I use my gifts, the way that I show up in life, the way that I relate, the way that I am in relationships. Every aspect of me was going through a death, and it was painful. Like I was going through some deep suffering because I just didn't know what was happening at the time. Now I could talk about it and say like, oh yeah, this, that, and the other. But when you're in it, right? And so So yeah, now I'm in this new space where I'm just exploring new inspirations and what's wanting to come through, and so that's part of also why I'm here, is just to explore new inspirations, to be here with you guys. I have a lot of excitement towards new things, such as creating Netflix shows and specials and video games, and just exploring a whole world of things that haven't done, and to wake people up through media is just another realm that excites me, as well as whatever else is in the unknown that wants to come through. So that's the short version of where I've been and what's been going on, and I just wanted to share that with you guys openly. And I'm also happy to take any questions you might have. But what I wanted to share specifically before going to your questions is a lesson that I learned that I believe every one of you will find useful, at least I hope. And this lesson was a game changer for me. So I've always been the type of person that especially when I'm in a relationship, that when I'm in pain and I'm going through something internally, for whatever reason, I would have a hard time expressing it. I would still express it. I would still, like, it would be uncomfortable and challenging, but I would have a hard time expressing it. It's like it's almost like I felt a sort of shame around being in pain, because I'm just so used to being the strong and shiny and brilliant one, so to speak. And so that became a part of my ego, because I got good at being good. I got good at being constantly in the light and in the shine. And so when I wasn't, especially when I was in close proximity with someone, Avea, it was very challenging for me to open up sometimes and to express, that I was feeling like shit, or why I was feeling like shit, or why I was feeling insecure, or whatever the thing was. And deeper than that, there were parts of myself that I didn't like. There were parts of myself that had certain behaviors, certain desires, certain actions that I just didn't like and that tormented me. And I didn't know how to navigate. And I felt terrified of expressing these parts of me to Avea, for fear of it hurting her, or not so much losing her, but maybe losing her. But like, to put it, to be fully transparent, I had very strong sexual desires towards women. And it's something that I've been dancing with for a very long time in my life. And I've always been open and honest about in every single one of my relationships. I've never cheated on a woman. And it's just been something that's been inside me, where I would have a hard time being with one person, because all of a sudden these desires would come up in me, where I just felt like I wanted to connect with and have experiences with other women, and it felt called for. It felt like this is where I was being guided to. And in the past it was in certain ways, but that's it's a different story. But it's been something that I'd been struggling with for a very long time in my life, that I never really talked about. And it comes a lot from my father's imprint on me, on my DNA, on my consciousness. The examples I saw growing up. My father. I put it this way: I have about 21 brothers and sisters from 11 different women. So my father is an amazing and magical person, and he just chose to live his life in a certain way that hurt a lot of people, myself included. And yet he was always honest about who he was. He never was secretive about doing things with other women, or whatever case may be, as far as I know. he was always, hey, he believed his purpose was to pass on the bloodline, and he knew that he couldn't expect one woman to have as many kids as he wanted to have. And so from day one with his wife, he told her, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm looking to do. Are you down with it? She was down with it. And then he met 10 other women. And now I have 21 brothers and sisters. And that was genuinely his calling. His purpose was to pass on the bloodline. That said, as a kid, I both looked up to and loved my father, even though he left my life at a young age when I was like 3 years old. I both looked up to his shine and his passion for life, and at the same time felt the pain that his behaviors would cause my mom, for different reasons, not just the ones that I mentioned. So all that to say, as much as I didn't want to admit it to myself, I had that experience, I had that imprint in me where I just loved women. And at the same time, I was also very imprinted by my mom in the sense of always being an emanation of love and always being an emanation of honesty and truth. And so I was very much the combination of both, where I was always transparent, always honest, and would have these very loving and magical and purposeful connections with women that went well on both ends. Like, to this day, I'm friends with a lot of them in certain ways. And all that to say, when I came into union with Avea, it was very challenging for me because that part of me, my father's imprint, was acting up inside of me, and I hated it. I hated it because I just wanted to be happy with one person. That's what I really wanted deep inside, but it's like I didn't know how to. And I didn't know I didn't know if, like, am I just not designed to? Am I just, meant to be all over the place and bring love into a lot of people's lives? I didn't know. And so that was one of my biggest challenges for many years. And it was something that I was moving through. And so when I say that there were certain parts of myself that I didn't like and was kind of keeping suppressed, that was one of those parts of me where I was trying my hardest to just be happy where I was and to not let my sexual energy start to go in different directions, because obviously I didn't want to hurt her. And bless Avea's heart, because she's the type of woman who recognizes, one, she's known my journey. We've known each other for over a decade. So even beyond our relationship, she knows that this has been a challenge for me for a long time, even way before we ever got together. And, she, bless her, why I say bless her heart is because her act of love was to support me into being the fullest expression of myself, no matter how it looked, regardless of how it might get expressed. In other words, she would encourage me to, like, go, like, if you need to let yourself explore your energy and not resist it, because if you resist it, it's going to torment you, and you're just going to feel like shit. But you need to know who you truly are now when these desires are popping up, and just encourage me that basically, she would love me regardless. Not that she would stay in the union if I felt called to go do something with another woman. She also knew how to honor herself, but she wasn't taking her love away. She was just like, who I love is the fullest you. And that's very much been our bond for always. It's like, I just want her to be the fullest her and vice versa. And that's what creates a lot of the magic. And so that was a huge challenge for me, because I didn't know that me that I kept in the dark, suppressed. I didn't know how to love that part of myself because it felt so wrong. It was so against what I wanted. I hated myself for it. It would torment me. And I didn't know how to love it. So I especially didn't know how to let anyone else love it. And so I guess the short version of the story is I got to a point where after like a good 4 or 5 months of suffering and trying to keep it in and trying to find other ways, where I just let myself be explorational in my energy, in the sense of just being willing to see who I am. You know, if my energy calls me in a certain direction, to go explore it and to just be willing to be open and honest about it. And I had to be willing to love myself, to explore my true energy greater than my fear of losing Avea. And that was the biggest challenge for me, you know, because my fear of losing and hurting her was greater than my desire to explore these I was going to say dark energies, but they're not dark energies, but these suppressed energies. Yeah, my fear of losing her was greater than my desire to explore these suppressed energies, because, you know, I didn't want to lose or hurt her. And so basically my fear of losing her was also greater than my love for myself, right? Quite the predicament, if you guys could feel me. Hopefully I'm explaining this clearly. And so I knew one thing about me is I hate to be afraid. You know, I will face any fear that comes up inside of me, because I know fears are just illusions, and I'm here to be the fullest, brightest expression of myself. And so I knew I had to face my fear of losing and hurting her. And so I did. To make a long story short, I finally, after 5 months, again, wasn't just a like, okay, I'm doing it. After being in so much suffering, I finally summoned the courage to just explore where my energy was leading me to. And when I did that, what I ended up discovering, you know, as I let myself go towards the exploration of another woman, I discovered very quickly and instantly that that wasn't me anymore. How do I put that clearly? The energy that was coming up inside of me was old energy wanting to be released. But I didn't know that. I thought it was me just being the way that I had always been. Part of me can't believe I'm sharing this shit, but by letting myself be willing to explore what my energy wanted to do without fear, and regardless of consequence it might have, that's when I realized that I'm actually no longer attracted to other women in that way, and that I just need to put myself in that position so I can see, so that I can so I could see that for myself and let that energy release through me. And it was one of my greatest liberations that I'd ever experienced in my life, you know, because for me, true monogamy isn't necessarily just monogamy with a person, but it's monogamy with your spirit, right? It's monogamy between you and you, being true to your spirit. And that's why I had to be true to the spiritual energy that I was suppressing inside, that I was labeling as bad. And all that to say, lo and behold, I had to be willing to love my deepest, darkest self. I had to be willing to show up in it, to be expressed in it, and to live the truth of my deepest, darkest self so that I can love it. And in turn, I ended up discovering that I received love in return for it. You know, because when I told Avea about, you know, my exploration, she was happy for me and she supported me. And sure, it was uncomfortable and there were some triggers, but the deeper emanation, the deeper vibe that was going on was just love and support, and just happy that I chose myself, you know, because it's choosing myself. And so, you know, and what that led to was this experience where I wanted to take it to the extreme, and I decided to just share with Avea everything that I've never shared that I've never shared, any kind of skeleton in my closet, so to speak, anywhere where I thought I might lose her or hurt her. And again, I've never cheated. I've never been unfaithful. There were just certain things that I wasn't proud of inside myself that felt scary for me to share. And it was my deepest, darkest self. It's where I carried the most shame. And so if you could imagine whatever you might have hidden inside your consciousness that you've never shared with your partner or you've never shared with a person, imagine sharing all of it until there's nothing left. And that's what I did. And it was terrible. It was terrible in the sense that it was so painful for me and uncomfortable. And there were triggers, and and shit happened, and in the end, as we kind of like moved through the stuff that came up, it was just met with so much love. It's like we both had to go through our process, but it was just met with so much love. And what that taught me, and this is the lesson that I wanted to share with you, is how important, how essential it is for each of us to be able to be loved for our deepest, darkest self, right? Because as long as you have that you kind of keep suppressed inside of you, that you think might hurt, or that can't be loved, or that is bad, or that is wrong, as long as that you is inside of you, you will always, on some level, consciously or unconsciously, use it as an excuse to either be closed off in relationships, to want to escape, to want to be to shut yourself down. It'll always be used as a reason to feel bad, basically, or to feel like you don't deserve, or whatever the case may be. And so only once when I revealed my deepest, darkest self, and which was my act of self-love, of being like, hey, this is, because you have to obviously love it first. So by me being willing to speak the truth of it, that was what created the opportunity for her to love my deepest, darkest self, which was so healing and so liberating, to be like, wow, you even love that? And it makes you feel so free to have absolutely nothing hidden in your consciousness between you and your loved one. There's not a single secret. My mind is empty, and that for me is what true marriage is. A lot of this journey, and I'm gonna check your questions in a moment. I know you guys got questions. A lot of this journey that I've been going through in, finding my wife, and who I call her my angel. She feels like my angel. I've been exploring, well, what do the words husband and wife mean to me? Do I resonate with them? What does marriage mean to me? I know what I've seen in society, but I actually don't know what marriage means to me. And so I've been doing this inner exploration, and what I've discovered through sharing my deepest, darkest self and a whole bunch of other things is that marriage to me is a marriage of consciousnesses, right? Of her consciousness and my consciousness. And in order to do that, there could be no veils of secrecy between our consciousnesses. If there's anything hidden, anything I'm afraid to say, anything I'm afraid will hurt her, anything I'm ashamed of, that I'm holding back, that I'm using energy to hold back inside myself, then there can never actually be a true energetic marriage of your consciousnesses. There can't be that oneness. And that means something to me, because I'm here, I'm all about being an example and being devoted to the highest love possible. And this was a step in that direction. And so that's what it allowed for. It allowed for this certain marriage of our consciousnesses very naturally. And it was an experience that was had. And just this expansion, where I've never felt more free, more alive, more excited, more happy, and just in awe that I'm like, I get to do this for eternity with you, with Avea. This is it. I'm astonished. And so that's the lesson that I wanted to share, that I thought might be helpful, was just how important it is that we are loved for our deepest, darkest self. Because again, if we keep that suppressed because we think it can't be loved, we're always going to use it as a reason to feel bad or to escape or to run away or to close down or to defend or whatever case may be. But this is why they say, and the truth shall set you free. And what I want to highlight is that the win isn't whether or not you receive love for your deepest, darkest self. Right? Because the win is you being willing to reveal it. The win is you loving yourself for it and being like, hey, I'm expressing this because this is the truth and I just want it to be seen and known. And regardless of what decision you choose to make with these deep, dark secrets, I'm happy and I feel good because I was honest and I was clear and I was truthful. And that is my act of self-love. So the win is that, not the result. So just want that to be very clear for people who might have that thought, and fortunately her love met mine. And so yeah, that's my share. That's my share. I'm going to take a look at your questions just now. Thank you for listening, guys. It feels good to be back here. If you haven't done so already and want to help me out, just click that like button and click subscribe. That helps with the algorithm as I go ahead and just look at your questions. All right, let me see here. All right. Oh, lots of questions, lots of everything here. If you guys have a question, type a capital Q and like the 2 dots and then put your question. That way I could spot it very quickly. Wow, speaking your beautiful truth and experiences is you're releasing. Congratulations. Beautiful. Oh, this is a cool question. How do you explain karma? And how do you explain the root of this reality? I'll give you my explanation of karma in a very simple and grounded way. There are many different interpretations and different truths, different levels of this truth. From the way that you're meaning it, and from my perspective, karma is simply emotional baggage. And yes, there's also the perspective of, the positive perspective of karma of like, your good actions beget good things. It's a wheel of karma. It's your wheel of manifestation. But in the context that is generally used, karma is your emotional baggage. So for example, let's say you carry deep resent in your system. That's your emotional baggage. Oh, my pops is calling me. Oh, it's true. It's Father's Day. I'm going to have to call him back. Let's say you carry deep emotional baggage, deep resent in your system for whatever reason, because your father left your life when you were young, and so you have resent towards that. As long as you carry that resent inside of you, for whatever the reasons are, you will continue, because of that karma, you will continue to manifest circumstances that give you reason to feel resent, because that is the wheel of karma that's inside of you. So the release of karma is all about finding forgiveness in some way and bringing enlightenment, bringing love to what you were misperceiving. So as so for example, resent mechanically means that you don't actually see the true purpose of why something happened. And so that's why you feel resentful. Because if you actually saw the true purpose, the higher purpose, and why it's actually an amazing thing, and how the thing happened actually made you a better person and gave you certain gifts, you wouldn't feel resentful, you'd feel grateful. And then you'd attract that kind of karma, grateful karma, because the more grateful you are, the more you'll attract things to be grateful for. So that is my perspective on karma in terms of what it is. It's an emotional, momentum that could either be positive or negative, preferred or not preferred. So let me know if that answers your question. All right. What's up? I see people from the Hypno Dojo here. What's poppin', Pranav? Question. Here we go. Do you believe in divine timing when it comes to sharing that shadow truth? Ooh, that's a good question. Holding it until it feels right to share, or is it better to push yourself and do it as soon as you realize it? That is such a good question. So the question again is, do I believe in divine timing when it comes to sharing your deepest, darkest secrets, the shadow truth? Holding it until it feels right, or is it better to push yourself to do it as soon as you realize it? What I believe, first of all, I'll say I don't know. I don't think that there's any right answer to this question. There's just different responses, and you have to choose the one that resonates with you. I don't know that it's so much a divine timing thing, because you are the divine being in the timing, if that makes sense, right? Because it's in other words, it's up to you. It's the divine. So no, I don't believe that there's necessarily a divine timing in sharing your deepest, darkest secrets. And yes, I believe there is, in the sense that when you do share it, that's divine timing. So it depends what perspective you're coming from. What I feel is that it's time to share your deepest, darkest truth once you've summoned the courage to do so, right? And because it's a process of opening yourself. Because I'll put it to you this way: if it's causing you suffering, if it's making you feel suppressed, if it's causing you suffering, and holding it in is just causing you to feel like shit, then it's divine timing, right? Because you are your own liberation. It's the divine time is there. If it's not something that is active inside of you, because you might have certain things that you've never shared just because it just hasn't been relevant to your experience yet, and it's not, and you don't feel any resistance to sharing it or not sharing it. That's a good cue. So if you don't have any resistance to sharing it or not sharing it, then you can allow divine timing to take place, because it'll just happen in the flow, and when the conversation comes up, it'll just be expressed like in any other conversation. But if you have resistance to sharing something inside of you, then you are the divine timing that you're looking for, right? It's because that it's already happening inside of you. Your resistance is causing you to suffer, because all resistance is just a resistance to your fullest natural self. That's all resistance is. And so often what people do is they have resistance, and then they resist the resistance, which causes even more resistance. So yeah, it's that would be my response. Is it's a question of your willingness to be open, your devotion to honesty and truth and transparency, and the divine timing will reveal itself when you have no resistance to sharing what is inside of you. But if you're having resistance, then that's the divine timing, is to release that resistance, so that you could create the space for that moment to happen where it's time to share, even if you're scared out of your mind. All right. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know. What's up, Nilsa? I see it's your first time here. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Oh, here's a cool question from Divine Beauty Coaching. What's up, Divine Beauty? Divine Beauty asks, when do you know that you're ready to love again? I feel like I am, and I have become at peace with my authentic self, but because of the changes I have made, it's hard to find someone that fits me. So when do you know that you're ready to love again? Well, for one, you're always ready to love again, because you are love. So you're always ready to be you again. That's never a question. That's never, there's never a time not to love, not to be loved again, because that is who we are. We are love at the core of our being. That's why it feels so good to us to be in love. That's why we feel like more of ourselves, more lit up, more inspired, more gifted when we have the love experience, is because we're experiencing the truest essence of our being. So it's never a time not to love again. I think the question you're asking is, when is it time to open up again to being the love that you are, in openness, with openness? And so my response to that would be always. Always, in the sense of, it's always important for you to be open, right? You are openness. As an energy, you are openness. You're not closeness. You're that's why it feels like shit when you're shut down on yourself or you feel closed. That's why you have suffering. But when you're in openness, that's who you are. So it's always a good time to be the love that you are and to be open and to trust that you will have the intuition and discernment to know who's worth dancing with, right? Who's worth flowing with and exploring. Because what I feel in your question is that there's a fear of making the wrong decision again, or that there's a fear of getting hurt again through making the wrong decision. And so this is where you have an opportunity to see that you've learned from your experiences and you've come a long way, and that you can trust that your intuition will be there to guide you, of, to say like, yeah, this is a great person, but not totally for me, right? Or like, oh wow, this person just feels so easy and natural, makes me feel like more of yourself. So it all comes down to just a willingness to listen to your intuition, and to not override it with your hope. What a lot of people do, which is where people get in trouble in relationships, is they'll meet somebody and intuitively you'll have this, what people call a gut feeling of, like, great person, not for me. But then your insecurities pop up of like, well, I've been alone and I really want company, and maybe I just need to give him a chance, and all these thoughts of the mind. And so all of a sudden your insecurities and your hopes and your maybes start to override your intuition, which is just like, no, it's not this one. Because sometimes that experience will pop up because your higher self just wants to see, are you willing to love yourself in the presence of someone coming into your life? Are you willing to choose what's for you and not for you? Because if you're willing to choose what is for you and what's not for you, life is going to give you more of it, right? So so that would be my response to that, is to just recognize that it's just a question of listening to your intuition. Because I guarantee whatever experience you went through that perhaps made you close up, even in that experience, you had an intuition about it in the beginning that you didn't listen to. So you already have, so all that to say is that you already have the discernment, you already have the know-how. You just have to choose to listen to it or not. And then you'll have every reason to be the love that you are, and to remain in an open state, because again, love and openness is who and what you are. All right. Let me know if that's helpful. This is an interesting question. I don't know if I could answer this, but it sounds fun. Can I explain why all spiritual teachers talk like they live in different time and society? I don't know if you're including me in that or not, but whether you are or not, I'm happy to play with the question. Why do spiritual teachers talk like they live in a different time and society? Well, I'll speak for myself here. I very much feel like I do live in a very different, I don't know if I would use the word time, in a different reality. I'll use your language, okay? I'll use your language. I very much feel like I live in a different time in society than what most people experience. But on a very grounded and practical level, it's simply because of the way that I've consciously designed my life. I've designed my life very deliberately around freedom and passion and joy and happiness. And so there's nothing in my reality that is not a 10 on 10, that is not love, that is not of service, that is not amplifying. There's no toxicity anywhere in my reality, not in my friends, not in anything, because I don't allow for it. I've paid my dues, so to speak, and went through in my younger years letting go of those who were toxic and whatnot to me. So because of those reasons, when you start to design your life and your reality through passion, joy, excitement, creativity, love, freedom, then that's what gets reflected back to you. Your reality feels very utopian, and that's not with ignorance to other people's realities or invalidation to it. It's simply with recognition that this is the reality that we get to live in, because this is what we created for ourselves. So yes, my reality I live my reality entirely through flow and synchronicity. I don't push, I don't effort, I don't believe in those things. I never believed in working hard. I've always believed in exciting my ass off instead of working my ass off. So to answer your question, I can't speak for other spiritual teachers, but speaking for myself, if I come across that way, it's simply because I'm just expressing my truth. My reality is magical. It is heavenly. And I can carry that into any reality I go to because of how I feel inside myself. With other spiritual teachers, I don't know. I guess I can't really speak on it. There are some people. Here's what I will say. And this is something that I've experienced because of you guys, something that you guys taught me. I used to get messages all the time asking me if I ever experience hardships and if I ever experience triggers. And I was just like in my head, I'm like, well, of course. I'm like, what kind of question is that? And at the same time, I understood why I was receiving those questions, which is because in my videos, every video I would make, you would see me in my channeling state, right? So you're seeing me in the most lit, most elevated expression of myself, just in tune and channeling spirit guides and angels and wisdom and whatever case may be. And that's pretty much the only experience of me that you would get. And so I could understand why you might ask me the question, do I ever experience triggers or hardships? And the answer is yes, of course. I may have a different way of dancing with them, of navigating them, but I could understand why there's that projection or perceptions sometimes, just because I share what I'm inspired. I'm not necessarily feeling like doing a live stream and turning on the camera when I'm feeling like shit and I'm like in suffering or whatever case may be. So maybe that's why. Maybe that's also part of why that impression is given. But I can only speak for myself. Thank you guys for everyone who took a chance to click the thumbs up button. I appreciate it. All right. Let's see. Any other questions here? What do you notice about a person when meeting them? Who they are instantly. I'm very clairvoyant. People are very transparent to me. So as soon as I meet someone, I see their deepest self, often better than they can see it. I could see who they are, and that's part of why I'm able to do the kind of work that I do in helping people embody their higher self and integrate their higher self and release who they're not and whatnot. So when I meet someone for the first time, I just see who they are, and I love a pure-hearted person. I love innocence. I love just authenticity. So yeah, that's what happens when I meet someone for the first time. I just see them because I see myself deeply. Jacqueline, thank you so much for the contribution. Jacqueline says, no questions, just asking for everyone's good vibes to get out of my current living situation so I can fulfill my true purpose. You're so sweet, Jacqueline, and you got this. If there's anything that I could speak into that, it's, simply do your best to act on your highest excitement every moment that you can. And the reason why I say that is because your highest excitement, that which feels expansive, whatever lights you up, that's the energy of your higher self speaking to you, saying, hey, come this way, I have a synchronicity for you. Hey, come this way, I have a synchronicity for you. I have an opportunity for you that you can't see yet. And if acting on your highest excitement is a stretch, because you're just in a more challenging space, then I would suggest just keep moving in the direction of a lighter feeling and a lighter feeling, whether that's going for a walk or reaching out to a friend and venting or doing whatever case may be. That is what's going to put you in tune with synchronicity so that things can flow in your lives more easily and help you out of that current living situation and help you fulfill your true purpose. All right. So hopefully that's helpful. All right. I'm gonna stay on maybe 5-10 more minutes. How are you a hypnotist? Yes, I'm a hypnotist. I'm a magician. I'm a mentalist. Yeah, I did that for over 10 years, and I'm just very multi-passionate. So some of you on here only know me as a channeler and channeling spirit guides, and have no idea that I was even a street magician for over a decade and doing those things, and some of you are vice versa. But yes, I'm a hypnotist among many other things. Can I scroll back for missed questions? Yes, thank you for saying that. Let me see. Any cues? I'm looking for the cues. Here we go. Was this profound sharing and clearing of your shadow aspects, thoughts and feelings with your partner something that happened all at once, like one intense evening, or over a period of time? Both. So yeah, the question was, this clearing of my shadow aspects, my deepest, darkest secrets, was it something that happened all at once or over a period of time? And the answer is both. It happened over a period of time to the best of my ability. And then there was also one evening where I just laid it all out on the table. And it was just this intense evening of just terror. It was not pleasant. I'm not even going to front. It was not pleasant. So yeah, it was both. And yeah, it was both. How can I contact you? Instagram, it's important. I'm on Instagram at _David Lyon. If you want to follow me on Instagram, please do so. Would love to jam with you there. Yeah. Let's see. Question, how to deal with a soulmate separation? Ooh, that's a good question. By recognizing that you're never actually separated. In a soulmate experience, you're never actually separated, because the purpose of a soulmate, someone we might consider your soulmate, is someone who's there to help you become a better mate of your own soul. That is what a soulmate is for. It is someone who will help rock your soul awake. So even if you're not physically with them anymore, part of dealing with the separation of that is attuning yourself to what gifts did that experience give you? How did it help you become more of you? How did it help you embody more of your soul? Because you being true to all the gifts that were gained from that experience is you remaining in the experience of the connection that you had or have with that person. So you're never actually disconnected. You're never actually in separation with them. And From another perspective, and this comes from Bashar, one of my favorite teachers. From his perspective, every single person in front of you is your soulmate, right? Because they are a reflection of your soul in some way, and so they're there to help you better get in tune with the soul that you are. So from another perspective, everyone's your soulmate. I'm your soulmate. So yeah, that would be my share on that, is to recognize that you're never actually separated, and the most helpful thing you can do is to embody the energies, the qualities, the gifts that you got from that relationship, and to become your own version of it, so that you always have that with you and you won't feel a sense of separation in that way. Am I on TikTok? Not really. I have a TikTok, but I don't use it. I'm not a big TikToker. Oh, here's a good question. How did you know when you found the right one? That is a good question, because I wondered the same thing. I'm like, how am I actually going to know? Because what I used to do every time I would meet a woman is I would scan them. For those of you who are psychic, you'll know what I mean by scanning, but or who are in tune with their psychic senses, I should say, because everyone is psychic. What I used to do every time I met a woman is I would scan them. I would scan their energy field really quick, and I'd be like, is it them? And I'd be like, nope, not them. Is it them? Nope, not them. And so I didn't know what that experience would be like. I thought it would be like this. I thought it would be this instant recognition. And for some people, they have that. I thought I would instantly recognize my wife, my true love, my angel, when I saw her, because I had been talking to her so long telepathically, which is another story. You could check out my video, Open Letter to My Future Wife, if you want to hear more about that. So I thought I would instantly recognize. I thought it would just be this heart recognition of like, yep, that's her. That's the one. But it wasn't that. And it was, but it wasn't. See, here's the thing. If you haven't fully embodied the frequency of your true love, meaning if you haven't recognized that you are the true love that you're looking for, that you are the one that you've been looking for, and you haven't embodied certain frequencies, then your true love could be right in front of you and you won't see them, because you're not in the energetic resonance to recognize what's there. So it's kind of like, imagine you're a rainbow and you're only emanating 4 out of your 7 colors, and your true love is, I don't know, let's just say he or she is either emanating all 7 or in the process of getting to 7. Your true love is your full spectrum self. So only once you embody your blues and your indigos and your violets, you're going to start seeing that spectrum as well. You're not just going to be seeing through this spectrum, you're going to be seeing through a larger spectrum. And so that's why I say, until you embody your full rainbow, there's a good chance that person could be right in front of you and you don't even see it, because you have certain blind spots. So that being said, the way that I recognize, the way it happened for me, was very much a recognition of my beloved within. I had this experience where I connected with my wife within, and it's going to be different for everybody, but I had an experience where I connected with my wife within, and I felt so fulfilled by that experience that I didn't feel like I needed anything else. I didn't even care if I met her in the physical or not. I was just like, I get it. I feel that I am the love that I've been looking for. And I was just so fulfilled with that. And then in that moment, when that happened, I saw Avea as a reflection of the love that I have for myself, of my true love. And what was interesting was, in that moment, it wasn't a question of, is she my wife or isn't she my wife? It was just this undeniable truth that I couldn't ignore. There was no question to be asked. It was just this undeniable truth. It's kind of like if you see Yeah, if you see, I don't know, if you see an orange pen, you don't need to ask, is that an orange pen or is it not an orange pen? It's an undeniable truth from one perspective that this is an orange pen. You didn't have to ask. So there was just this undeniable truth that I couldn't shake, that I couldn't change. I tried thinking of other women. I tried imagining something different. I tried everything, but every time I tried to imagine something different, my heart just kept saying, but it's not Vey, but it's not Vey, but it's not Vey. So for me, it was this experience of an undeniable truth that needed no question. There was no question to ask. It was just, this is what it is. And that's a magical feeling. 5 more minutes, guys. Let's see. Ooh, that's a great question. Have me and my beloved broken up or separated since you've reunited? No and yes. So, no, in the sense that ever since I had that recognition that she was my wife, we've never separated. We've been in that dance. The reason why I say yes is because I've known Avea for over 10 years, and we've had a strong connection for 7 of those years. And then prior to recognizing her as my wife, we shared a love story, where we had no labels on each other. We weren't boyfriend, girlfriend, or anything. We were just love to each other. We shared a love story where we very much looked like we were in a relationship, but we weren't per se. And so during that period, that lasted about 2 years. And then after that 2-year period, I felt guided to move forward. And so in that sense, I guess you could say there was a breakup. There was definitely separation in that sense, but it only grew. It only grew us. It always just brought us together even deeper. And I could get into that story if you want. It's a bit of a longer story, but yeah. So I don't know if that answers your questions, but again, I didn't, for the longest time, I didn't think it was Avea. She was right in front of me. I had a 10 on 10 relationship experience with her back when we had no labels. 10 on 10. 10 on 10 intimacy, communication, business, laughter, fun, sex, friendship, everything. 10 on 10 relationship. And deep down I had this feeling, but she's not my wife. And so I honored that feeling. I honored that truth. And so I had moved on from her after those 2 years to pursue this feeling, which now I know is me embodying the wife within, so to speak, and recognizing myself as that love and not seeking it externally. And she was becoming an embodiment of her higher self, of the wife energy that I was tuned into. So I very much, neither of us feel like we are with the people that we once were. We are very much with new people, so to speak. She feels like a completely different woman. She's very much embodied, her higher emanations and vice versa. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's what happened. How do I learn to become a psychic, or where do I learn it? Well, I'm happy you asked that question, because this is what I devoted my life to teaching for the last 10 years. And so if you want to learn, to recognize the psychic that you already are, if you want to strengthen and amplify your intuitive gifts, if you want to learn how to understand the inner workings of your gifts in a very grounded and practical way, I've just created a shit ton of content on it. So there's tons of free stuff all over my YouTube and my Instagram. And if you really want to deep dive, like if you're like super passionate about this and you're like, no, I want to learn everything and I want to have all the support in the world and I just want to know all the ins and outs. Like if you want to go on my website, www.livingmagic.life, and check out the program I created called Opening to Channel. It is a 7-day self-study experience. So it's pre-recorded videos. It's 7 days 7 days of training, where I teach you. I take you by the hand and I show you how to unlock and awaken your gifts, to clear blocks, how to tune into things, how to read energy, how to communicate with your guides, how to learn lessons from them, how to everything you can imagine. And more importantly than your gifts, it's really about embodying your higher self and your greatest shine, your greatest liberation. So opening to channel is on livingmagic.life if you want to check it out, if you want to really deep dive. All right, I'll take one or two more questions. Could you speak about loyalty versus highest excitement, work relationships, etc.? Sometimes honoring a commitment might not be the highest excitement in the moment, but it is necessary for loyalty. It comes down to your definition of loyalty, right? Because from my perspective, your first loyalty is to your soul, is to you, which comes before any commitment you can make to anyone else. A lot of people have broken this loyalty, have cheated on this loyalty. So, for example, if I tell someone, I don't know, I'll be there. Yeah, I'm coming to your thing, whatever the thing is. And then for whatever reason, something comes up that where my calling or my highest excitement is very clear that I need to go in another direction. I need to go into another flow for whatever reason. My loyalty is to my first loyalty first, which is to my higher self. And because I know that if it's not in alignment, if it's not in true alignment for me to go to that commitment, then it's not in alignment for that person either. And by me going, I'd actually be blocking a synchronicity from happening on both ends. So I wouldn't be doing them a service. So that said, that rarely happens, especially because at least these days, if I say I'm going to be somewhere or say I'm going to do something, it's from a place of it being a full body fuck yes. It's from a place of my soul. So I already know my soul is in alignment with it. That would only ever really happen in the past if I committed to something that I wasn't feeling in the first place. And at that moment, I wasn't being loyal to my own soul. So it comes down to what your definition of loyalty is, and to remember that your truest loyalty is to yourself first. So if you're wanting to be loyal to you and align your commitments from that space. That way there doesn't have to be a distinction or a difference between your self-loyalty and your commitments. Ooh, Axum's asking the big questions. What is love? What is love? What is love? Love it's being who you are to your fullest expression, because who you are is love. So when you're being who you are in your fullest expression, unapologetically, you are being love. You are being that vibration. You're being the emanation of love. And when you're being that emanation of love, the way that you love others is by watering them, by shining on them, by giving to them, by being generous with your love and who you are. When I think of love in terms of relationship, I very much think of watering a flower. If I love you, whether you're my romantic partner or my client or my friend or whoever you are, then I'm going to water you. I'm going to give you the water and the light that you need so that you could step into your fullest blossom, because that is love. I want you to be the fullest version of you. So love is the watering of the flower, and that water might be with my compassion, with my kindness. The light might be with my shine, or with passing you a blessing or an opportunity. So from that perspective, that's how I perceive love. It's being who you are to the fullest expression, because you are love, and watering those around you so that they could be their fullest expression. And to make this clearer, sometimes what I like to talk about is what is not love. So Possession or possessiveness is not love, right? Thinking that you that you control someone or that you own someone because they're your wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, that's not love. That's attachment. Self-sacrifice is not love. And this is a big one. A lot of people do this. A lot of people think that love is I'll do anything for you. I'll do anything for you, even at the expense of myself. That's not love. That is self-sacrifice. The intention is pure. The intention is loving. But if you're doing something at the expense of yourself, which means you're being less of yourself, then you're not actually able to be the fullness of your love. So, and this is a big thing. So love is not self-sacrifice. Love is self-honoring. It is honoring your own needs, desires, passions, boundaries, whatever those things are. And because that fills you up and makes you feel like more of yourself, then you have more of yourself to give, so that you're actually a higher emanation of love. So imagine you're filling up your own cup and giving from the overflow. So that's how I perceive love. I also like how Sadhguru once said it, where he said, love is the sweetness of emotion, which I would agree with as well. Cool. All right, let's get one more question in, and then I'm a biz ounce. Thank you guys for being here. Let's see. One more question. Who's got that last question for me? How do you embody your higher self? Perfect. How do you embody your higher self? I think this is a great question to end off on. And I'm going to make this super clear and practical for you. I've talked about this a lot. I have a lot of videos on it. But first, what I want you to do is I want you to understand your higher self as your most liberated self. Your most liberated, your most magical, your most loving, your most open, your most intuitive self. It is the you that just is in flow, that doesn't ever perceive anything as wrong or doesn't perceive things as problems. It just perceives opportunities. It doesn't need to look back and try and fix things because it knows nothing is broken. So it's always expanding and flowing forward. So your higher self is that. It is a higher vibrational frequency of yourself. How to embody your higher self comes from understanding how your higher self already speaks to you. So your higher self is actually literally has its own experience. So there's the you, the physical you that has an experience. And then there's your higher self, like another character, so to speak, that has an experience. To give you an analogy, imagine if you were a caterpillar and your higher self is the butterfly that you'll one day become, right? So that butterfly exists in some dimension of reality and will be feeding you guidance onto how to become a butterfly, onto how to embody your higher self. This is such a great analogy. And so that's your higher self. It's the butterfly that you have not yet become that is always communicating with you. So the way that your higher self communicates with you is energetically. It speaks to you in the language of excitement, passion, joy, creativity, love, lightheartedness. All of those magical feelings, those light feelings, those feelings that light you up, that is the language of your higher self. So for example, when you're chilling and you're doing things and maybe you're working on something that you really don't feel like doing and it's frustrating you, but your mind's like, oh, but I got to do this. Your higher self might speak to you, be like, yo, go get a smoothie. And you're just like, oh no, but I got to be productive. I have to finish this. I don't have time for a smoothie. And it's like, go get a smoothie, right? It's speaking to you with a lighter feeling. It's speaking to you with excitement by pulling you in a direction that will light you up more. And because it's representative of your future self, it could also see how your future is going to unravel. So it speaks to you in lighter feelings so that it feels good for you. And because it knows that if you act on those lighter feelings, it knows that if you go and get that smoothie, that you're going to bump into someone who you haven't seen in a long time, and a synchronicity is going to happen where that person offers you an opportunity that you didn't know you needed, that just made everything in your life easier, and maybe even takes care of the thing that you were trying to work on. Maybe you were trying to work on marketing, and then going for a smoothie bumps you into an old best friend who happens to be a marketer, as an example. So the beauty of really practicing and devoting yourself to listening to your higher self, and always moving in the direction of a lighter feeling, always moving in the direction of your highest excitement being the thing that feels expansive, not escapist, feels expansive. Then what you're doing is you're choosing to live your life in such a way that you're tuning into where things are figured out for you, instead of you ever needing to figure things out. It is one of the greatest liberations you can give yourself, I promise you. I promise you. I've been living like this for well over a decade, where there's nothing to ever figure out. There's nothing to ever figure out in my reality. There's things to explore, there's things to navigate, there's things to talk about. But I've become so good at following the flow of higher self that I'm always tuned into where things are figured out for me. And as you act on your higher self's language, it's like you're nourishing yourself, you're watering yourself with its energies, and you're becoming more of that butterfly. So then all of a sudden you start to wake up to your butterfly gifts, your butterfly clairvoyance, or your butterfly psychic abilities. So it's such a beautiful, complete kit, because it's your GPS. It's your GPS. It's the path to your greatest gifts. It's the path to your greatest love. It's the path to the greatest opportunities. So this is how you can embody your higher self, is to recognize that in every moment, there are a number of things that you could choose to focus on, right? Every moment, there's a number of things you could choose to focus on. If you simply choose to focus on the thing that contains the highest degree of excitement, that lights you up the most, and then just act on that thing to the best of your ability till you could take it no further, remaining in a positive state. That's important. You got to remain in a positive state, and having no insistence on what the outcome is supposed to be. So for example, you might have an excitement to create a workshop, and then you act on it, and you start acting on it. And then as you create that workshop, you realize for some reason, it can't happen. I don't know, something, COVID happened, right? And then you're just feeling like, oh shit, like, but I acted on my excitement. Where did I go wrong? You didn't go wrong, because sometimes your excitement will pull you in a direction just to get you moving, so that you get certain inspirations in you, so that you meet certain people along the way, so that it can give you the next excitement that it knows that you would not have acted on had it given it to you while you were just sitting being a bum in your house, right? So the formula, the instruction manual for embodying your higher self is act on your highest excitement every moment that you can, to the best of your ability, with no insistence on the outcome, right? And you're just acting on excitement for excitement's sake, because it feels good. That is how you embody your higher self. That is how you unlock your spiritual gifts and psychic gifts. That's how you manifest true love and opportunities. And that's how you have your life be an experience of living magic, which is what I'm all about. So on that note, I hope this was helpful for you guys. If you enjoyed this, again, please hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, leave your comments. I love to read them. And if you want to explore more about what we have to offer, you could check out the website at www.livingmagic.life, and give me a follow on Instagram at _David Lyon. So lots of love to you guys. Peace. I appreciate you, and thank you for being here. I'm outie.